Welcome to the second edition of 10 Mondays. In this video, I would count down the 12 realizations that I have during this COVID-19 pandemic. Cash is fucking king. If you don't have cash, then you are a slave. And it is undeniable, especially at this time. Cash is really something that you should have at your disposal. If you don't have cash, at least credit that could be turned into cash. Right? So this is a time when all your gadgets, all the things that you have bought that has no absolute substance or meaning in your life is meaningless, really. Number one that you should have at this point in time is cash. Connections. To be alone is okay. I mean, if you do it once in a while, that's okay. But to be without connections, and when I say connections, it doesn't mean just business connection, but more so with family, familial connection. God, I can only imagine how it is to be solitary and genuinely solitary at this point in time. I mean, I know people who are independent, who are able to do it by themselves any time of the year. But especially at this time, you should be able to depend on somebody. So connection is really being able to depend genuinely on somebody else. Next, you have to take care of your own self. It is not the government who would take care of you, not this government, not any government in the world. I mean, just take on any political or economic system. Individuals are mere statistic when you go to an aggregate view of the government. You have to take care of your own self. Not even your company would take care of you. You really have to be able to take care of yourself. So when are you going to think about that? When there's already crisis? No, you have to take care of yourself even before any crisis would strike you or the country down. Take care of yourself. Don't rely on the big powers that be. Take care of yourself. If you look at your life right now, there are so many unnecessary things there. I don't care whether you say that you are poor, you're not a well-to-do person. Even if you're rich, even if you're poor, there are still so many unnecessary things in your life. Necessary things for me are the things that you are able to carry when all fire breaks loose. I mean, especially in 2020, we've seen a lot of calamities. We remember Taal when it spewed smoke, and imagine if you are part of the community where the whole barangay, the whole town was buried in ashes. There are places where there are 3-4 cars. Imagine if the magma is already rolling down the volcano. How many cars are you able to save? Right? So you can only save one car. So why do you have many cars? You can only wear one piece of clothing. Right? But still, you don't have to have many other things in your life. So review your life and retain only what is necessary. So there's always a silver lining in everything that happens, even if it is a bad thing. And you can enumerate things that happen in history. There's always something good that come out of every bad thing that happens in history. When we come from a tyrant dictator, we always value democracy after. When we come across war, then we appreciate the value of peace. And everything that happens, there's always a silver lining. So the good thing that happened because of the experiences in COVID is we experienced the true value of taking time out to realize the value of family, the value of love. Uh, yes, we stopped for a while. We stopped working, but we gathered inside our homes. We bonded with our family. We finally get back to the things that we should have been doing in the past. We washed our clothes. We started our YouTube channel. We learned to play guitar again, or play the instruments again. The prices of gas went down, right? And also pollution. Pollution is at its lowest, I think. Sooner or later, we'll value healthcare. We will take care more of our nurses, of our doctors. PPE, medical equipment. We will fund medical research more. We will focus on medical research rather than nuclear weapons. So these are the things that take place that are good, even though there's a looming negative thing like COVID in the environment. Another thing that we realized is the value of the small and medium enterprises. Despite the efforts of the government to support individual people, I think in the end you realize that the ones that you should support are the small and medium enterprises, which at least for the Philippines correspond to 95%, even more, of the employers. So instead of helping individual people, especially individual lazy people who don't work, they should really support the small and medium enterprises. That are the reason why individuals have work. So we really have to support the entrepreneurs, because the entrepreneurs are the ones that would make a difference, especially at this point in the economy. There is a need to balance the economy. Our economy is so dependent on two major areas. Number one is OFW remittances, providing millions and millions of dollars every year. Secondly, the BPO industry. If anything happens to the economy of the world, especially the US, then the overdependence on those two will show its negative effect. So when we depend so much on OFW remittances, and our OFW start coming home, then that's a big problem. So we really have to strengthen the domestic economy. Another thing that I realized in the situations like this one is that the schools have no idea what to do with education. You see what they are doing. They cannot do an online learning because the students are complaining about it. But 100 years ago, when the Spanish flu hit, what happened to the schools? It was closed. They were closed. So 100 years after, we get hit by this one, and we will close down also. Why? Because we don't know what we're doing. We cannot go beyond the paper and pencil test. We cannot go beyond the classrooms and lecture type of instruction. Schools should be modernized. Schools, especially in the Philippines, should utilize the online learning more. Frankly speaking, when schools say online, they don't understand what they're doing. They don't compare with what is going on with online learning, MOOCs, massive online courses that are happening all around the world. Harvard knows what they're doing. Harvard even gets students from us. Imagine, we are paying Harvard University. Our schools are closed, but our students are online in Harvard education. How can Harvard do that and not our universities? Our universities don't understand how to go online. They still measure teachers' engagement by the number of hours that they must teach. They don't have an understanding about online. So that's the problem. You should work in a company that takes care of you. Especially at this time, you would realize that to be able to work in a company that takes care of you is really the most important thing. I mean, it could be a company that does not pay very high on times of good times, but then during bad times, like this one, they would really take care of you. But there are companies who are maybe good companies, high profitability, but then during times like this one, they would lay off 1,000 employees, 1,000 workers, simply because you're a mere statistic in their company. You're mere employees in their payroll. So find a company that takes care of its people, or else start your company and take care of your people. Politics. One of the things that I realized is that people in the Philippines are so fond of political polarities. I mean, it's enough that you have your opinions about a certain form of government or a certain individual, but when you go out expressing your opinions and going out of your way to, pick a fight on the opposite side of the fence, go to their Facebook pages, go to their Facebook profile, and start commenting about what they hold to be their opinions. I mean, if you have your opinions, put it in your wall and then, just express it. You don't have to win every argument, because we are entitled to each of our opinion. But don't attack the opinions of another person on the other side, because you don't know everything. At least you should have the humility to understand that you don't know 100% of everything. Being grateful. I've heard of people receiving relief goods, relief items, who are complaining about the inadequacy of the government, the inadequacy of their relief goods that they're receiving. They should receive, instead of 6,000, 8,000, not per month, but per week. I could not understand the reasoning of people like those. Before this situation, are you earning 8,000 a week? I know people who are going to work, going through to overtime hours, working for 12 hours a day, and yet who are earning 10, 12,000 a month only. And here you are, during COVID, asking for 24,000 a month? What was that? 8,000 times 4? 32,000 a month? What the hell? Come on. Be grateful about what you have, what is given to you. You know that the government cannot do everything, right? So just be content with what you have. I think the most important lesson that I've learned in this kind of situation is this. There used to be a time when my father and I would go driving from our usual place before in San Juan, to Santa Rosa, where I live now. It was the time of the 90s. I was only, I think, 19 or 20 years old during that time. But me, I'm a peculiar individual. I don't really sleep. I cannot sleep on a journey. I always am wide awake, especially if I'm riding in a public transport and all that. But what I notice about myself is that whenever my father is the one driving, I can sleep. And the reason for that, I think, is because I feel safe if my father is. I would feel safe because my father is the one driving. So in this connection, this kind of situation, I think that kids like us, we will only feel safe if we know that someone is in the driver's seat. And the more we will be peaceful if we know that that someone is our Father. God is our Abba, our Tatay, our Father. And if we believe that He is the one who is in charge of these things, we can go through all the fire and hell and ice water and the freaking ice capades. We can go through Taal and COVID and all this influenza virus and all these things. If we believe that it is our Father driving the car, then we would sleep peacefully. As in the storm, I don't know if you've heard about the story in the gospel. When they were struck by a storm in the middle of the night, Jesus was soundly asleep, and they would, try to wake him up. Jesus, what are you doing? Why are you sleeping? We are in the middle of a storm. And then he said, why are you like that? You are men of little faith. And then he calms the storm. I think the ability to be able to sleep soundly in that kind of a storm can only be found if you, like Jesus, can rely on the Father, His Father, and our Father, because He is in charge of the situation. And that, I think, is the most meaningful lesson that I've learned in COVID-19.